has mankind hesitated to eradicate the creatures that stand in the path of his conquest? If we find ritual extirpation of undesirable beings, odors from another world, the rest must be destroyed. Is it possible that our dark past watch them and pray?
Greetings, ladies, gentlemen, KGB agents, woodchopping babushkas, and anyone who might be listening. This is Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind. I'm your host, Tasker, and we have Nick.
I'm no longer going by Nick. That is not my name.
Oh, what inspired this change?
I use the Wu-Tang Clan name generator, and I am now going to be going by Erratic Samurai. E-Radic Samurai. That is my new name, and that is what you must call me from now on.
Wu-Tang name generator. Now you got me interested, because that actually seems pretty fun. Is it Wu-Tang.net? Wu-Tangclan.net?
That one doesn't work anymore. At least it didn't work for me. Maybe try that one. I had to use a different website.
Yeah, let me see. Just really quick, because I'm kind of jealous. Was it just, did you use first and last name or just a first name?
First and last.
Okay. So let me put this out here and woo me. And you're right. It doesn't do anything. Okay. We can do that a different time. Welcome, everybody. We're back. We survived St. Patrick's Day.
Fucking barely, man. That corned beef almost killed me.
Yep. I don't think I had corned beef at all on St. Patrick's Day.
It's the saltiest meat I've ever had, man. And I've had a lot of salty meat, and I add salt to my meats, man. I didn't add any extra salt to the corned beef. And, well, I mean, it makes sense because corned beef is just cured beef. But my God, dude, right. I slow cooked it, and the combination between the really melted fat and just the general saltiness, it sounds good. The first two pieces were really good. But after that, it becomes gratuitous, and I thought I was going to die.
It's like you kind of need to have like a gallon of water with you at all times to kind of like rehydrate as all of the sodium soaks all of that water out of your body.
Oh my God, dude. I was so puffed up. I looked like the fucking Michelin man for 2 days after eating that stuff, dude. I just retained so much water.
Oh, that reminds me of I've been trying to not eat as much fast food because it's horrible for you. And sometimes it was like this one day, you know what it was? It was when we did drunk recording. And that evening I had just been like, we drank, we recorded, I take a nap, I met up with a friend, we drank even more. And at that point, my senses are just completely just like fried. And I, decided that I wanted Jack in the Box. And I got the Munchie meal, which is a sriracha curly fry burger with 2 tacos. And I even gave myself like a 3-4 hour digestion window before I went to bed. And I still felt it, man. It's just like comfort food, but without the comfort. It's just the cum.
Just the cum food, huh? Just cum food. Is that so? That's what you're eating these days? In your drunken hazes?
Hey, man, it's cheap, it's easy, and you feel guilty about it the next day. So I'd say my description's accurate.
Yeah, I always feel guilty when I have a bunch of cum.
Unless that's what you're actively seeking out, because I feel like if you're not profiting off of it, then I'd feel guilty. No, maybe still a little guilty afterwards, just a little.
Look, man, I'm trying to keep up, but I just keep thinking about my Wu-Tang name. I think I'm gonna change it on Discord, dude. I'm changing my name to Erratic Samurai.
Erratic Samurai. Do I have the administrative capabilities to do that to you?
No. Probably. You're one of the owners.
Let's see. Profile, call, add note. I'm still learning. I just recently learned the other day that you can add emotes. So, by the way, if you're on our Discord, emotes are coming. That'll be fun.
We're going to curate some fine emotes for you guys. Trying to figure out some good ones that you can use in our Discord and have some fun with, make them super cute, and you guys can just post them, react with them.
Yeah, we're learning this just as much as some people are. So for all the y'alls who have probably been making fun of us for being total nerds and noobs about it, we're learning, like this podcast. We learn as we go.
Yeah, we're not all a bunch of tech nerds. Some like some of you out there, which is fine. You guys can be tech nerds, but I've been on Discord for a while, but I don't do anything in it. Like I don't know, man. We'll figure it out. The point is, we're gonna figure it out for you guys.
Yep. And no, I cannot change your name. So guess what? You got to do it yourself, buddy.
Fine, I'll do it right after we record. I will now be Erratic Samurai. Okay.
Oh boy. Oh boy. So before we get started today, it's as customary. Let's see what the future holds for us and see how well we're going to deal with, as you heard in the intro thingy. We're getting a little red today, huh?
Red? Oh, you mean like communist red?
Yeah, like Russian.
Oh yeah. We're going USSR Soviet Union shit today.
Oh yeah, and as Americans, that's a sketchy ground. Because as you know, as of recent, there was a thing with Biden calling Putin a killer, and then Putin hits back with, "Well, it takes one to know one." And then there's the hilarious footage of Biden tripping and falling on the stairs to the Air Force One. Did you see that?
I did, and I think it's rude that everybody's making fun of an old man. I think you should all be ashamed of yourselves. So all the memes, all the background music, and the come on, guys, grow up. All right, yeah, he's 90 years old, and yeah, he can't climb up a flight of stairs by himself, and yeah, we expect him to run our country. But hey, that's not my problem. All right. Well, I mean, I guess kind of. But when I move to Canada, it's not going to be my problem. Then I have to deal with some old blizzard bitch queen. Dude, I bet you anything. What's her name? Kamala Harris was watching the footage of him falling or wherever she was. I don't even know if she was there. I don't know. I don't watch politics. All right. I just look at the memes that come from it. Okay. Wherever she was watching that, she was hoping to God he was going to crack his skull open. Come on, old man. Come on, old man. It's my turn. It's my turn.
She probably rigged it. She's like, dude.
She probably tied his shoelaces together.
It's like you are one 30-degree angle away from me becoming president. So, yeah.
We need to overthrow the government. So everybody, I'm not inciting anything, but I think we should all go to Capitol Hill.
Oh my God, no! We're going for round two.
No. I just guys, I'm gonna become the monarch of the United States. So that's just what's been decided. I'm now in charge of the United States. So don't listen to the president. Don't listen to your government anymore. It's all old. Listen to me.
Love it. So to give me, I'm stroking out again, dude. That's how intense this whole thing is.
You doing okay, buddy? Are you holding up? Is the podcast is it crashing down on you mentally?
No, actually, I think it's very therapeutic for me to give myself a platform. So, you can only talk to yourself in the mirror so many times and, reenacting as if your dreams became reality before, you kind of start to be like, maybe, therapy's worth the money.
Yeah, but now our therapy is just yelling into a microphone and hoping people out there will listen to us, and all of the crazy ideas that you have, like inciting a riot at Capitol Hill, like you just said. Come on, man. We were past that. We already went through this. It didn't go well. So stop it. All right.
You got a good point. I think it's time to just move on.
Okay, let's do horoscopes, but you go first this time. You do it.
Yeah, evidently I have a lot to talk about. So let's see. Your sense of adventure is in full swing today, Scorpio. New and unusual pastimes, travel to exotic places, meeting new and interesting people, all should be on your mind. Friends could call to propose enticing last-minute excursions. Go! You need an outlet for this feeling, or your nerves might be on edge for several days. Maybe I do need an outlet. Maybe this is my random outpouring of bizarre sentiment about politics and that I normally wouldn't care about. So maybe I do need some more outlets.
Well, I mean, hey, you're hit the gym, get a hooker, start doing coke.
Yep,
like the 80s, right? Just live like you're in the 80s again, and you'll be fine, and your mental state will be perfect. So I think there's a lot to say with this horoscope. I think they're on the right track.
I have heard that cocaine does put you in a very likable position.
Until you cross the line and you make people feel uncomfortable. Unless they're all on coke too, and then everybody's just having a good time. So,
oh yeah, then it's just an orgy until your heart just gives out.
Hell yeah, man, that's how I want to go.
Sometimes I know we've talked about this before, but it's like sometimes I feel like the two of us just would have thrived so well in like the 60s, 70s, 80s.
We would have been, we probably would have been cult leaders at some point.
Yeah. or drafted to Vietnam and shot and killed in the first day.
I would have dodged a draft so hard, man. I already have the hair to like look like a draft dodger. You know, like I'm ready to not go to Vietnam and get torn apart by things I can't see in the trees, man. Their eyes, dude, their little slanty eyes staring at me from the bushes.
You had to make an Asian joke on the fact that we're literally in like, Stop Asian Hate Week, right?
Oh shit. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Way to go. Way to go.
That was
You're
racist.
lucky you're Japanese.
That was bad of me. And I look, America, I apologize. That was a poor time joke. It's like when DiGiorno tweeted out that why I stayed thing is because he had pizza or whatever. And there was this whole hashtag going around Twitter years back, right? The spousal abuse hashtag why I stayed. And then DiGiorno just comes in and is like, because I had pizza, why hashtag why I stayed. So, and then they apologize. So that was my bad. That was a bad time joke.
That was your DiGiorno moment, or your Papa John's meeting role play, or when Burger King, they tried to make a push for like, what was it, on National Women's Day, and so they made the women belong in the kitchen tweet.
Yes.
So, okay, I get it. Bad press is good press, and it was obviously a marketing stunt, and it worked because we're all talking about it, and Burger King's more relevant than it's ever been, even if people hate them. But like, we're thinking about it and we're talking about it, so in a way, it worked.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's both funny and terrible at the same time. My stars are 4 out of 5 for sex, 3 out of 5 for vibe, 2 out of 5 for hustle, 2 out of 5 for success. Pretty low on the charisma today.
Just wait till you see my stars, man. It's not great.
Oh dear. All right, what do you got?
Well, first off, I want to say sorry about the Vietnam joke during this trying time in America. It was a bad move, and I didn't think about it. But hey,
and if you don't know why Nick's saying that means it got cut.
Yeah, then you have no fucking clue. Then you don't even know, and I got away with it. Cancel me now, bitch.
Right.
All right, let's do the horoscope. A rather unsettling communication could cause you to dwell on the negative side of whatever you learn. Cancer. Don't fall into this trap. The positive side will become more apparent as the day wanes. You might decide to purchase some new equipment to enhance your communications, perhaps a phone or a new computer. Try not to spend too much of your day learning how to use it. An unsettling communication today, huh?
Curious.
Oh, I had one. I got an email saying that I reached my limit on my credit card. Is that an unsettling communication?
Unsettling could describe that.
So now I need to go out and get a new phone, is what they're saying. So add to the debt. Is that what they're trying to tell me to do?
Are you sure they're not trying to sell us like ads? Like they're like, oh, buy our specific horoscope.com phone case.
It's like, yeah, sure. That's all I want is a fucking cancer crap on the back of my phone. It looks like a 69. The cancer symbol looks like it is a 69. So when people see it on the back, they're gonna be like, wow, you fuck, huh? I'm like, I guess. No, it's a cancer symbol, man. Like cancer. Why would you want cancer on your phone? It's like, no, like the horoscope, man. Not the disease.
The astrology equivalent of having a big old anime titty sticker on the back of your car, huh?
Yeah, I'm not going to stoop to that level. I'm not going to buy any new shit today. I don't need to buy anything else. American Express is telling me not to buy anything else, and I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's okay to kind of defy the stars a little bit. I think that's a smart move.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah.
So my stars, like I said, not great, guys. Sex is a 2 out of 5. Hustle's a 2 out of 5. Vibe is a 2 out of 5. And my success is a 3 out of 5. So not great.
Ugh, low across the board. I think we used up all of our good energy last episode because we were our blood alcohol content was elevated.
Yeah, and now we're paying the price.
Yep. Ain't that the way? But I think the topic might be able to match our vibe. I mean, I am told it's pretty harrowing.
This is, you guys saw the title, you know what it is. Most of you guys know what this is, but for those who don't, this is going to be a very good, hopefully a treat for you guys, because this topic is one of the most intriguing mysteries, in my opinion, that's always piqued my interest. Okay. So we will be talking about the Dyatlov Pass incident, And I do need to point out up top that this was another listener topic idea by our very own Melissa Black on Discord. Awesome topic idea. We were going to do it eventually, but I'm glad that you said it so we could just do it, man, because this is the shit. This is the shit right here, this topic.
Yeah, and also too, statistically for us, it was a great move because we know at least one person out there is for sure 100% going to listen to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, oh shit, I might even listen to it and see what I have to say afterwards.
Right? It'd be funny if, like, as we're saying that, we like finish recording, go over and see she like left the Discord and blocked us.
It's like, oh damn it. Well, that's fair, I guess. I don't blame her, you know.
Yeah, after the Leprechaun episode.
Okay, so guys, yeah, the Dyatlov Pass incident. We're just gonna dive right into this shit. So what I need you guys to do, grab your skis, right? Gentlemen, pitch your tents. And everybody, make sure that your wills are all squared away because we're going for a bit of a hike.
Yeah. Bring some vodka too. I mean, that's pretty appropriate.
That's very appropriate, man. It's very Russian, so we're gonna drink a lot of. We're not drinking vodka, but you guys all better out there be drinking, doing shots every time I say Dyatlov. All right.
Yeah. Do it for us who need to be recording sober because we're just apparently old men who just like completely disintegrate afterwards. And you got to do the drinking for us.
Yeah. And the sad thing is we're not even that old, but our livers have gone through the trials in the past, and now it can't keep up. Yeah.
The old gym bro dick comparing drinking-a-thons, basically.
I feel sick even thinking about it.
Same.
All right, well, to summarize, the Dyatlov Pass incident was the mysterious disappearance and later determined deaths of 9 hikers in Soviet Russia. Let's get into the story and the aftermath in the first part of the episode, beginning with who was in the group of hikers, which consisted of 7 men and 2 women. It was a bit of a sausage party, okay?
Yeah, not a good ratio.
No, it was a terrible, unless they're into Eiffel Towering on the reg, this is a terrible ratio.
And even then, if you got 2 Eiffel Towers going, that still leaves 3 men just to have to just watch.
Well, they just fap in the corner of the tent. Each one gets like one of the corners, and then they tag in and out. Oh, this is getting misogynistic.
It's getting really explicit too. So let's just say, let's go back to the fact that this was not a sexual rendezvous. It was merely a hiking trip.
We'll get into it.
You right?
Yeah. Okay. So let's start by talking about who it was. And guys, up top, letting you know, never heard these names pronounced before out loud, so I am trying my best. Okay. I know basic Russian by working at a place where the owners were Russian, but I don't know I don't really know Russian, so I'm trying my best. So first and foremost, we had the leader of the hiking expedition, a man named Igor Dyatlov. Second, we have Yuri Doroshenko. Third, Lyudmila Dubinina.
Damn.
Oh, the names just keep getting longer.
It just looked like if you just like randomly press keys on a keyboard.
Exactly. Okay, fourth, we have Georgy Krivonischenko.
Nice.
Fifth, we have Alexander Kolevatov. Sixth, Zineda Kolmogorova.
Cool.
Seventh, we have Rustem Slobodin. Eighth, Nikolai Thibu Bringoles. I don't know. Wow. I don't know, dude.
That one looks almost French.
Yeah, it doesn't look Russian, does it? Except for the first name.
Yeah. I don't know. Could be French born or immigrant.
And ninth and last, we have Semyon Zolotaryov. Okay. Now, I will note here that there is a 10th hiker in the group, a man named Yuri Yudin. However, he was not with the group when all the shit hit the fan, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
So either he's really lucky or really unlucky.
We'll see. I'll let you be the judge, but I'm going to say it's the first one. Because trust me, you don't want to be with the group when shit hit the fan.
Got you. See, I'm with everyone else. I have no idea what any of this is. This is all new to me. I'm just, easily distracted, just caught up with the names, like, oh wow, this is crazy in Russia. Like, so I don't know. On a scale of like, should I have eaten before this, or is it good I'm on an empty stomach right now?
Nah, you could have eaten. It's nothing gruesome. I mean, it's
Okay.
gruesome, but the details that were given aren't. It's not terrible. I mean, it's horrible. No matter what happened was horrible to him. But I mean, you know what I mean. It's not like watching a splatter film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could probably find something on Netflix grosser than this.
Yeah. Although looking,
Okay.
if you ever get the chance, listeners or Tasker, look at the photos online. There are photos of the bodies. Not fun.
Ooh, got it. Interesting. Okay. All right.
All right, so let's get into the group and what they were doing to set a little bit of background to the story moving forward. So, this was a group of friends from a university called the Ural Polytechnic Institute, now known as Ural Federal University. The group consisted of both current students of the university as well as a couple alumni. Now, they wanted to set off on a ski expedition / hike across the northern Ural Mountains. And just to set a little bit of perspective here, this wasn't like a leisurely hike where you go out with your yoga friends and you pretend to enjoy nature and drink your fucking your melon water and shit. No. This was like a brutal, treacherous endeavor. And
let me,
yeah,
oh, sorry. Let me interject here, but it's always those post college trips that shit always goes wonky. And it could be a great wonky. It could be a fun, memorable wonky. But those like, oh, we just finished college. Let's go on an adventure together. One last thing. Some bullshit always goes down.
yeah. So things could always go wrong. It could either be like without a paddle, or it could be the Dyatlov Pass incident. So post college trips are not good most of the time.
Yeah. Usually, like, yeah, I mean, like I said, it could be a fun, could be like a la, like, oh, we forgot toilet paper, like, something like that. But, or it could be, something like this, which I'm about to see if, I don't know why I keep thinking of, what's that shit, where everyone froze to death on their trip to California on a mountain and they had to eat each other?
Donner Party.
Donner Party. Is this kind of in a similar vein?
Kinda. Wrong place, wrong time. But there's no cannibalism.
Okay. So still pretty bad. So yeah, just plan your guys' trips. Or you know what? Just it's a pandemic. Stay inside.
Stay inside.
Yeah.
So the fact that this was a dangerous endeavor was due to two reasons. The first being that there are regions of northern Ural Mountains that are particularly dangerous as a place to hike as far as the topography is concerned. And second, it simply comes down to the fact that the expedition was to take place at the end of January and early February. So as you could imagine, what the weather was like during this time in Russia, in the mountains, right? Freezing temperatures, endless snow. So the odds were not awesome to begin with.
And remember that, yeah, that Russian winter is what crushed Napoleon and
Germany.
Nazi Germany completely.
So very dangerous trip. This was not like a, hey, let's go do a 5-mile hike loop and get some exercise, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you might be asking yourself, why were they doing this, right? Why would you do such shit like this? Well, this group loved to hike and trek across mountains. And in fact, the purpose of this specific expedition was to achieve their certification as grade 3 hikers. So that is something to point out up top. Every single one of the people on this expedition were very skilled and were very experienced hikers, as they all had their grade 2 certification going into this trip.
Now, I imagine getting any sort of certification as a hiker is pretty admirable, because you got to know your trails. You got to know what to do if, shit goes, because this is fucking nature, man. Like, I don't know, man. I don't like hiking. I think it's annoying. I think I hate waking up early for it. And everyone who seems to love it loves to remind me of how much they love it all the time.
Yeah, they're like vegans, man. They're gonna keep telling you about it.
Yep, can't stand it, man. Give me a good movie and a beer, and I'll be plenty happy.
Hell yeah. So if this team was to come back, they would have received their grade 3 certification, which you should know is or was the highest grade possible in the Soviet Union at the time. So the fact that long story short, just keep in mind as we move forward that this group of trekkers knew their shit, okay? There's no doubt in anybody's mind that they didn't know what they were doing. So not only about how to ski and how to hike through dangerous mountains and terrains, but also about survival in these types of places, right? So your general survival skills, first aid, all that kinds of shit. So every single person knew what they were doing.
So this wasn't like, your Aunt Nina going out. This is fucking Survivor Man / Man versus Wild types.
Yes.
The kinds that, what happened to them, well, and also too, the other thing I wanted to point out is the fact that in order to get your grade 3 certification is the success, a successful trip means you get your certification. An unsuccessful trip means you're dead.
Yeah, there's no in between.
Pretty fucking Russian.
So now that we have a little bit of background, let's get into the story and talk about the events that took place. Now, before the group set off for the expedition, they planned a route ahead of time that had to be approved by the Sverdlovsk Route Commission, which was a subdivision of the Sverdlovsk Committee of Physical Culture and Sport. So basically just like some kind of weird committee that makes sure that you know what you're doing before you set out.
I'm learning a lot about Soviet recreation in this episode.
There's a lot of it's outdoors and a lot of it's dangerous. That's all you gotta know.
Yeah. The people behind them are getting bear wrestling certification, I'm sure.
Yeah. In Soviet Russia, mountain hikes you.
That sounds overtly sexual.
Oh, it is very sexual.
Oh, dear. Yeah, I don't even want to think what that list looks like.
So to put things into perspective, guys, in order to obtain their grade 3 certification, they had to trek 300 kilometers successfully, which is almost 190 miles for us dumb Americans, okay, to put that into perspective for you. So 190 miles through the terrains of the northern Ural Mountains. That sounds like a grand old time.
Oof. Yeah, that sounds like what you do to it sounds like in the olden days, like if you have like a prisoner of war and they're like, yeah, sure, okay, you're free, but you just got to make it through these mountains.
Yeah, they're like, sucker.
Basically, for most people, I guess long story short, it's basically a death sentence for most people.
Oh, yeah. Now, Igor and his friends finished making their route, and the ending point would be at Oderton, which was another mountain. And then from Oderton, they would just go, we'll get into it in a second. So I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm so excited about this episode. Now, the Route Commission determined that the route they had chosen was a Category 3. And just so you guys know, that's the hardest that there was. So not only was it a difficult trek in general, but the route they chose was also the most difficult for some reason.
It ain't the bunny slopes.
It is not the bunny slopes, man. Now, on January 23rd, 1959, the group received their route book, and that very same day, they left Sverdlovsk. I can't fucking say the city name. Hold on. Sverdlovsk City. But this city's now known as Yekaterinburg. That's just the new modern name of the city, just so you guys know.
Just as hard to pronounce.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's just I know. Jesus. All right. So on
no favors.
So on January 23rd, 1959, the journey begins. The group hopped on board a train first and traveled to a town named Ivdel. Then they all humped it on a truck to a village called Vizhai. So Vizhai is the place where they would come out eventually from the Oberton Mountain to conclude their trek, right? So basically it's like a big circle that they were doing. So they stayed the night in Vizhai, and the following morning on January 27th, the 10 friends began their journey to obtain their grade 3 certification. Now, yes, I did say 10 friends. Remember, there was technically a 10th friend on the expedition. However, on January 28th, a day after they began their trek, Yuri Yudin decided he could not continue and turned back. And perhaps this is the luckiest decision in recent history.
That's like being at a party and being like, I don't know why. I'm just tired. And I just got to turn in. And the minute you leave, it's like when the dude pulled out a gun and someone got shot in the leg. And it was Cops showed up. It was a complete disaster, and you completely avoided it.
Exactly. That's exactly the kind of mentality that Yuri probably had. He probably had survivor's guilt, but he's probably like, woo, man, thank God.
Yeah. Dude, oh man. I've had that happen to me before where it's like it wasn't as intense as everybody fucking died, but like you ever have that where it's just you just kind of get this feeling of like, I'd rather not today. And you end up like skipping out on some major bullshit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So good for him. I'm happy for him.
Now, you see, Yudin suffered from severe rheumatism, causing severe pain in multiple joints throughout his body. And as you can imagine, with the extreme cold, this was probably not great for this condition. And on top of that, Yudin also had a congenital heart defect, so his ticker was weak. So one day into the expedition, his illnesses were acting up, and he was just like, fuck this, man. Fuck this shit. I'm heading back down the mountain. I'm catching the bus home. And they're like, all right, pussy, see you later.
Oh, they were like spitting at him and stuff, and they called him like a buzzkill and pushed him in the snow. But
they're like, hey, yeah, man, we'll see you later with our grade 3 certifications. He's like, okay.
Have fun, number 2. And he's all mad and stuff. He probably cried that night too.
Well, with Yuri gone, the 9 friends carried on. And I did not mean to make that rhyme, but I'm just a poet, and I didn't even know it, dog.
The Wu-Tang name, man. It's flowing.
Erratic Samurai. Catch me on SoundCloud.
Can't wait.
The following information about their next moves on the route are only known to us because of the diaries and photos that the team had documented. So on January 31st, they came to a highland area in the Urals where they began to prep for a strenuous push forward through a pass, like a chasm. Mm. Now they camped out that night and prepared to move through the pass the following morning. And the initial plan was to get to the other side of the pass and then camp over there that following night. So they were going to try and make the pass in a day. But unfortunately, at the time, weather was becoming worse and worse. And with snowstorms, of course, came a decrease in general visibility. And then from, a decrease in general visibility, directions started to get mixed up. And this is where mistakes begin to happen.
That's what got Kobe.
Hey, R.I.P., man. R.I.P. I'm glad everybody was really sad when a rapist died. That's awesome.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You brought that up when that was happening.
Yeah, I just don't get it, man. Like, I get it. Like, I understand the Lakers. Oh, like L.A. Laker pride, but come on, guys.
So what is it that he did before we, stopped deviating?
He raped somebody, I think. I don't know, man. I don't know all the details. I just get not a strong case. No, not at all.
He did get arrested in connection with an investigation of a sexual assault complaint by a 19-year-old hotel employer. Accusation tarnished Bryant's reputation. Accuser stated Bryant raped her in his hotel room the night before Bryant was supposed to have a medical knee procedure. Bryant admitted to an adulterous sexual encounter with his accuser, but denied that it was sexual assault. The whole incident was settled privately.
That's never a good sign. So
call it what you will. Not the reason why we brought him up, but yeah, because also too interesting comparison here is the pilot of the helicopter with Kobe Bryant and his family, and a really tragic thing that happened, but he was extremely experienced. I mean, that's why he was able to pilot for Kobe Bryant, but shit got mixed up. The weather was low. He lost control, and they said to the point where they weren't really fully sure what was up and what was down, and that'll do it, man.
That sucks. That's just the way it goes, man. So when things start getting sketchy, there's directions. Doesn't matter what a direction is, you're fucked.
It's frightening how simple that is, of how just you literally can just kind of get sort of mixed up, and that could be GG's.
Yep. Well, as the team went on through the pass, they began to drift west on accident because they definitely didn't mean to go west. And this mistake got them headed towards the summit of a mountain called Kholat Syakhi. And I do want to point out here that Kolatsiaki translates to dead mountain in English. And
Shit.
yes, and the Mansi people, the locals around the Ural Mountains, who are fairly spiritual in nature, they're hunter-gatherers, right? But they know their way around the mountains and all that. But they believe that this particular area of the range is definitely not a place that you want to be.
Oh, so you think it was cursed, maybe?
That's the implication, right? That's it's the implication that there's a cursed land or it's just generally dangerous. So usually when the locals tell you, hey, it's Dead Mountain, man. It's Dead Mountain. Usually you should be, but it's not. I shouldn't say that though, because it's not their fault. Remember, they got mixed up because of the low visibility. So it's not like they chose to go there, right?
Yeah, Dead Mountain found them.
In Soviet Russia, dude, Dead Mountain find you, dude. That's just the way it goes.
True to the meme.
But I digress. So once the team realized that they were definitely off route, Igor had decided that they should set up camp on the slope of Dead Mountain. Now, the strange thing to keep in mind here is it was either an unfortunate mistake or a poor decision on his part. And that is because if they had gone downhill further down the slope instead of on the slope to set up camp, there was a forested area that would have been much more livable, better shelter from the increasingly bad weather. They had a lot of trees. They could make more shelters out of giant branches, all that kinds of shit, right? But no, they decided to post up on the slope of the mountain, on the slope of Dead Mountain.
Stop for a breather a little too soon, huh?
Yeah.
That sucks.
But there might be a reason behind this. So when asked about this decision that Igor made to camp on the slope, Yudin, remember the guy, Yuri Yudin, the guy who turned back and was obviously questioned about all this shit afterwards.
Yeah, because they probably thought he fucking murdered them all.
I mean, maybe, but it was documented that he did leave behind. So he left before.
True.
So
Okay.
I think they were just trying to get. I think they were trying to get like perspective from him on the decisions they might have made. Right.
I see. Okay.
So they asked him about this decision to camp on the slope, and Yudin speculated that Igor either didn't want to lose the altitude that they had gained thus far on the hike, or he just wanted to get practice on setting up camp on the slope of a mountain, which I guess is a skill within itself. So one of the two, probably.
Don't practice on the test. That's what I got to say.
Yeah, there's other slopes. Go to the buddy slopes and then be like, hey, let's set up a tent right here. Don't go to Dead Mountain and set up a fucking tent on the slope. You know what I mean? That's like a dumb idea. Now it's his fault. Now it's their fault. They got to Dead Mountain. They could have gotten away from it. But they're like, you know what? We're at Dead Mountain, bro. Let's just set up here.
Cocky. Just cocky.
Unbelievable. But remember, we can't victim blame. But they're
right.
Are they victims if they weren't murdered?
That's an interesting question. They were a victim to nature, but like a lot of it's not like they like purposefully it wasn't negligence that killed them. It was just some freak. One could say, I guess this was more of it's not. Would it kind of fall in the category of accident?
Well, it depends on what happened, and we'll get into the theories later, and then we can decide if it was an accident or not.
Okay, all right, because that's right. There's a slight supernatural element here, and that's why we can even do this episode.
There's all kinds of fucking dude. I have a whole pegboard full of conspiracy theories about what happened here, dude. It's fucking ridiculous how many options there are.
Curious. Okay, so now this is starting to open up a bit,
and this is the last part of the story that we actually know what happened to the expedition on record. So they set up camp. They chilled at camp, and then later that night, that's all we know is something happened. And I'm going to be getting into the aftermath next.
Okay, so we're at the big amnesia blank spot, and now we've opened our eyes.
Perfect. Now let's move on to the aftermath of their journey. And this is where things start to get bizarre, okay? So before the group even set out for this expedition, they told their sports club that they would be sending a telegram over as soon as they reached Vizhai, essentially when they had finished their trek. So they made the big loop. They got back to Vizhai. They were going to send a telegram being like, hey, we're done. Send a truck to pick us up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this telegram was expected on or before February 12th. But February 12th came and went without a telegram from Igor and his friends. Now, believe it or not, nobody at the sports club was suspicious and jumped into action quite yet, because a delay of a couple days on these types of hikes were pretty typical, to be expected.
It happens.
But after 8 days, past when they were supposed to send the telegram on the 20th of February, the families of the team started to become concerned, naturally, and demanded a rescue operation. Now, the initial rescue team consisted of volunteer students and teachers from the Institute, but they just didn't have the proper resources for a successful search. So at that point, the Army actually got involved in the search, supplying helicopters and planes to aid them. So at this point, it's becoming a whole fucking thing, right? Everybody's like, oh shit, it's been over a week since they were supposed to hit us up, and we got a bad feeling about this. Like, they all probably knew what happened, right?
Yeah. And I guess the big lesson here is, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but if you go anywhere, be it hiking or wherever, tell somebody where you're going and when you're coming back, because dude, the fucking Army got involved even. I mean, granted, this is Soviet Russia, a little bit different, but you know, that shit matters.
Yeah, and I do have a theory on why the Army got involved, but we'll talk about that in the theories.
Oh, all right.
So 6 days later, on February 26th, the rescue operation found the team's abandoned camp on Dead Mountain. And it was a grisly scene. There are photographs out there that you guys can check out, and their tent was badly damaged.
Like a bear kind of damage, or just scattered?
We'll get into that.
Or is that's
all details? Okay, that's all details in the theories.
Okay.
But not a bear. It was a certain student, one of the volunteers, who actually found the tent first. And this is a quote from him describing the scene. Quote, "The tent was half torn down and covered with snow. It was empty, and all the group's belongings and shoes had been left behind." Unquote. Now, something important to note about this torn tent is that it was actually cut from the inside with a knife, as if they were trying to escape from something quickly.
And no shoes, too. That's an interesting little tidbit.
Yeah, no shoes. So, something happened here that caused them to cut open their tent from the inside to book it and leave all their shit behind, including their shoes, in freezing temperature in the snow.
Ugh.
Now, from the tent, they found 9 pairs of footprints heading down the slope toward the aforementioned wooded area near the base of the slope, where they probably should have camped in the first place. These footprints ranged from wearing socks to wearing only one shoe, all the way to barefoot. But none of them had both of their shoes on when they left the tent. So after about 1,600 feet, the footprints were covered up by fresh snow and could no longer be followed. And the searchers kept looking in that general direction where the footprints were headed before, and they found the remnants of a small fire at the edge of the wooded area set up underneath a large Siberian pine tree. And by this small fire pit is where they discovered the first 2 bodies, that of Yuri and Georgi. I think that's how you say that still. I'm not sure. It's Georrigiy.
Man, it sounds solid to me. I'm convinced.
Perfect. I just don't want Putin knocking on my door all pissed, you know what I mean?
And he might, man. He might. He's the type.
He is the type. So they found 2 bodies. These 2 were completely nude except for their underwear, right? No socks, no shoes, no clothes, just underwear.
And of course, these are the experienced climbers, which even an unexperienced climber knows that the Siberian temp is no place to not be wearing anything.
Yes. So about 5 meters up the tree, right, the tree under which they found the bodies underneath, the branches were broken. It is speculated that the branches were broken because either one or both of them had climbed up into the tree to either look for something, perhaps the camp, if they had lost their way and they were trying to get back to it, or to hide from something.
Or maybe they're getting firewood.
But it was like 5 meters up. So I don't know. Like they were like climbing to like get some. They were trying to get some altitude in that tree. You know.
Okay, interesting.
So the searchers had found 2 bodies, and they figured that this general area between the pine tree and the original camp on the slope was a good place to search for the others. And unfortunately, they were correct. So 3 more bodies were found that day. 980 feet, 1,570 feet, and 2,070 feet away from the pine tree, Igor, Zeneda, and Rustem were found respectively.
Oh, it's like scattered.
Different. So the first 2 were grouped up. These 3 were scattered at those different feet markers from the pine tree.
You know, you never Scooby Doo it when on the mountain.
Don't, even if you're in a panic, man, don't be a Fred. Don't be like, all right, gang, let's split up. You know, there's no fucking point. Either you die together or you survive together. Okay.
Scooby Doo is a cartoon. It doesn't work. It was drawn by a sweaty person.
Yeah, a sweaty person, and Casey Kasem, rest in peace, right?
Rip. Yep, he's voiced Shaggy, right?
He did, man. He's the best, dude. Fucking Casey Kasem was the best, man. He was a great radio host, too.
A class act.
Now, the searchers stated that these 3 bodies, the new ones they had found, had died in a pose that suggests that they were trying to get back to the camp. Now, I'm not sure what they mean by this, but perhaps they were just facing in that general direction, which is strange. So there's a lot of weird shit happening here.
Yeah, so far this is a pretty atypical type of situation. Like I said, I avoid nature as much as I can, and even I'm like, that's pretty weird.
Exactly. So on this day, they found 5 of the hikers, and according to official reports, all of them so far had died of hypothermia. And this makes sense when you think about the state that Yuri and Georgi were found in. They were stripped down to their underwear, and if hypothermia becomes severe enough, you'll feel like you're burning up. It will have an urge to take your clothes off to cool down. And this is something known as paradoxical undressing.
I have heard of this. It's actually, when you're at the point of paradoxical undressing, that means your body is dying.
Yes, you're dying. Basically, when you're at paradoxical undressing, it's a little too late.
Yeah, you're kind of, because you've lost all sense of everything. And like, I know there was like a weird like science explanation for it, but like it is a very bizarre thing of, and so far, okay, so let me say, as far as we are right now, obviously we're going to go into the actual theories and stuff later. Sounds to me like in the middle of the night, everyone woke up in a panic because something went wrong or something was broken in the tent, and maybe one of them already had frostbite or somebody, and they freaked out. Or they all woke up with fucking hypothermia, woke each other up being like, we got to fucking fix this. But they were all in just such a delirious haze, and it just ended up confusion and panic.
See, that's interesting because I think the same thing. Like, I think maybe it had to do with hypothermia, but I'm not sure if they found clothing that was removed, right? Most of their clothing was still back at the tent. So perhaps they removed their clothes due to hypothermia, or they left their tent without the clothes in the first place. But I don't know if they found the clothes, especially from the first 2 bodies. Like they had removed it. So they could have done paradoxical undressing and maybe didn't find the clothes. But a lot of their clothes were just still back at camp. So they might have left the tent in their underwear, for all we know.
Yeah. So I think that and that's what I'm saying is I think the paradoxical undressing started at the campsite, and they ended up far away because at that point their minds were already gone.
They could have, but they did have a heat stove in the tent, and the tent was fairly well insulated. So I don't think hypothermia. Yeah, I don't know if hypothermia would have happened at the camp, which is
unless the stove broke in the middle of the night or something.
That's one of the theories. That we'll kind of. That's one of the theories that we'll get into.
Okay, well, I'll stop spoiling it, and I'll let you continue reading.
I like your critical thinking, though, Tash. You're keeping that brain, that autistic brain going. You're like, you have to make sure you're cranking it out.
Well, the listeners don't know because of movie magic, but I literally had to like pause and grab a snack. So if I sound a little bit more sharp and a little bit more in it now, it's because I actually have energy flowing through my system.
Yay! And I don't. So.
Nope. So you know what? I feel like morale has gone up just at least like a half star.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah. No, we're feeling good. Except for this depressing story, of course.
Oh yeah, we're just getting started.
So we found 5. so far, the other 4 bodies were much more difficult to locate, taking another 2 months to find all 4 of them. On May 4th, they found the other 4. So that would be Lyudmila, Alexander, Nikolai, and Semyon. Those were the ones that they found on May 4th. They were discovered only 246 feet further into the woods from the pine tree where the first 2 bodies were discovered. However, they were buried under snow, and that's probably why they were so hard to find. And by the time they got to them, they were actually buried under 13 feet of snow.
It's that's a lot.
It's a lot. Now, these 4 seem to be dressed better than the others for the elements, but not by much. Alexander was the only one of the 4 to have also died from hypothermia like the other 5 had. And the other 3 had died in a much less expected and harder to explain manner. And this is where the mystery continues to get more complex. So both Lyudmila and Semyon had died of severe chest trauma, and Nikolai had perished by severe skull trauma.
Oh, dear. So
It's-
one of
something's
them,
going on here.
yeah, somebody possibly went crazy and decided to practice their falcon punch, huh?
Falcon punch.
Mhm, right in the chest and the head. So this does complicate things.
It complicates, dude. The layers of this story is why there's so many theories. It's ridiculous. Like, yeah, sure, you got 6 people who died of hypothermia. That makes sense. But then you have to think about, okay, well, why'd they leave the tent in the first place? And then also what happened to these 3 dudes who got beaten to death, right? It just doesn't make any fucking sense.
What about a bear?
We'll get into that. We'll get
Okay,
into
okay.
why it probably wasn't a bear.
Okay, all right.
In fact, we're going to get into it right now. I just looked at the outline. So
Sharper as ever, huh?
I feel like crap today. So during the medical reports, they determined that the force needed to cause these fractures to the head and chest of these 3 were equivalent to that of a major car crash. And sure, a bear probably could have exuded that kind of force if really pissed, right?
Right.
However, even stranger is that there was no external injury on these 3 to signal a high impact. Rather, everything was internal and signified a massive pressure on these regions in their bodies. So there was no bruising, or there was no cuts, there was no bruising, it was weird. There was no external factors to their injuries. It was all like a super heavy pressure internally.
Okay, that's really weird.
Yeah.
That sounds like something that would happen to you if like you went like too deep into the ocean without proper gear, and the water pressure just like crushes you.
Yeah, it's super weird. I feel like you have to have certain very specific circumstances to have those kind of severe traumas, where nothing on the outside is showing that. Like there's a theory that they fell off of a ravine and then to their deaths, right? Those 3, but obviously falling off of a ravine would show some kind of external, something.
Yeah, very much would.
So I don't know, dude. I'm telling you, the layers just it's like a fucking onion, dude. It's like Shrek. It's like a fucking onion.
Interesting.
And it gets weirder, okay? It gets stranger from this point even still. So Lyudmila was missing her eyes, sections of her lips, skull fragments, her tongue was gone, and she was missing some facial tissue. Semyon was missing his eyes, and Alexander was missing his eyebrows.
Yeah, okay, that doesn't happen from falling or a bear attack.
No. And people could chalk it up to post-mortem animal nibbles.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
That could be the case, but I mean, that's probably the most likely thing to happen, but I have a theory myself that we'll get into later about what happened to them.
Well, yeah. And also, too, they were under 13 feet of snow. Like, I don't know. There was a pretty small window to, like, get at it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, not impossible, I guess, but I don't know. I'm interested to see what else we can pull from this.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical examiner. But something tells me that those injuries were not far post-mortem. That to me sounds like something else and not animals picking around because of the fact that they were under snow.
Hmm. Yep. I don't know if there's any snow worms that exist in the world, but I have a feeling that's probably not the case.
Do you want to hear something stupid, Tasker? You want to hear what the medical examiner thought these injuries were?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so the medical examiner determined that these missing body parts were post-mortem injuries and that they were due to where the bodies were found near a river, basically chalking it up to water erosion.
No, there's what?
It's bullshit. It's 100% bullshit.
Yeah, there's no way. Water and how long? First of all, one, they were frozen. And second of all, it took them what, like 9 days for them to find them?
These three weren't found for 2 months. But
Okay.
I'm not, all I'm saying is if it was water erosion to the face, don't you think the whole face would be gone and not their eyeballs and their tongues? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. The water doesn't just come up to the face and be like, what am I going to erode today? I think I'll go for the eyeballs, maybe the tongue. Ooh, the eyebrows got to go too. No, the whole face is gone. If it's water erosion, that's a cop out.
Yeah. Well, and you said they were near a river. They weren't in it.
Right. They were in a ravine near a river, but I don't think that they were found submerged in the river.
Yeah. So that doesn't, they weren't even close to it. Like that's bullshit.
All of the official things that they state is bullshit, and we'll see coming up here. I mean, it's just something reeks here. Okay.
Interesting.
So after an investigation, the best that they could come up with was death by a, quote, compelling natural force, unquote.
What a cop out.
It's ridiculous. They concluded with this because of the fact that there was no apparent guilty party. They didn't suspect foul play. But before they didn't suspect foul play, the local Manzi people mentioned earlier were interrogated naturally, but they came out clean for two main reasons. The first being that the injuries that caused the death of the three were far too severe for a human to be able to inflict. And the second is that there's no evidence in the area that any other human being was out there with them at the time. So Manzi people got off scot-free. And also, it's important to note that the Manzi people are very peaceful people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were the ones saying like, "Hey, don't go to the Death Mountain, please."
They're like, "Hey, man, wouldn't recommend it."
Yeah, kind of why we named it that. But you do you, bro. Get that certification.
Yeah. And here's the most egregious thing that comes out of this investigation. Okay, so in February of 2019, the authorities in Russia reopened the case to further investigate it, and everybody's probably like, "Oh shit, we might actually get some answers." And they did get an answer. It's just a fucking bullshit answer. So just last year, on July 11th, they determined that the official cause of all of this was an avalanche, a slab avalanche to be specific. At first glance, you could be like, I guess, right? Like, I guess. But
what is a slab avalanche?
So a slab avalanche. So when you think of an avalanche, you think of a bunch of snow like coming down like a giant wave, right? A slab avalanche is a very dense, blocked shape avalanche that kind of forms in a block and slides. It's very strange the way it's shaped, but it's like slides down as a block, and it's quite dense. So they thought it was a slab avalanche, and it comes to it goes on a very specific route.
Mm-hmm. So it's just like a giant iceberg comes careening towards you.
Essentially, yeah. You can say, I guess, like on the surface, sure, an avalanche, but then when you start thinking about the details, it doesn't quite make sense.
I think it makes sense, like in the beginning of they wake up to the sound of like, oh fuck, it's an avalanche, like we got to get the fuck out, and that explains them like hightailing it with like none of their gear. And I guess it does make sense that like maybe two of them got hit by it when that's our high impact trauma. And then the rest of them died of hypothermia because they all got scattered and they left too quickly out of their tent.
See, that's the thing is, yes, that all makes sense, but there's a problem. Okay, there's a problem with first of all, I think avalanche is just such a dumb excuse for Russia to come up with. Because, I mean, like I said, guys, like, it kind of makes sense, but the tent wasn't under a great amount of snow. So if they were in the trajectory of the avalanche where their tent was, it's like you could still see the tent when they discovered it, right? It wasn't like buried like the other 3 or 4 were under the 13 feet of snow. It's just strange. So
it was either a huge fuck up on their part, or because the avalanche, obviously, if they would have just stayed in the tent, they wouldn't have been hit if it was an avalanche.
But in a minute, I'm going to get into why it was not an avalanche. Like, it physically could not have been an avalanche, even though Russia decided to tell us it was. So that was the aftermath and investigation of the Dyatlov Pass incident. But what the hell actually happened out there, right? I refuse to believe it was an avalanche, first off. So let's get into some other theories that might have caused the strange decision for them to book it out of their tent and die in the ways that they did.
So in other words, the truth.
The truth. This is where the truth or the possible truths are coming out. Okay. Now, first, I would like to present the counter evidence to the avalanche theory, just to dismantle that theory first and foremost, because we all know it's bullshit.
Sure.
So up top, the location of the incident, both the camp and where the bodies were discovered, did not have any signs of a recent avalanche. Apparently, an avalanche would have left a very certain trademark pattern, and it would have spread out debris, much like, like branches, uprooted trees, how avalanches, they leave debris in their wake. None of that was found. Right. There was no signs of an avalanche happening.
Well, especially if it was like a big chunk like that. Like, that's a good point. Yeah, there would be a lot more evidence of that. And yeah, I guess you could say, like, it was a couple days before they found them, so there enough time for fresh. But they were able to find footprints, though, so obviously it couldn't have been.
Exactly. So if the footprints weren't covered up going from the tent, something tells me it was not an avalanche. Yeah, but that's not not all the evidence I have against the avalanche theory. But something else to mention here is, sure, the last 4 bodies were found underneath a lot of snow. But if an avalanche swept them away, the avalanche would have swept away the others as well. And they were not found under snow. Simple as that.
Yeah. Unless they had some like crazy Russian backflipping ability and just they were able to. Well, I guess because remember you said some of them were in the tree. So, but no, that was already like far away though, right?
That was far. That was not. It wasn't as far as the ones that got swept, as the ones buried under the snow, but it wasn't far away from them. And also the ones that were closer to the camp weren't under the snow, right? The 3 that were found. So, what gives?
Yeah, it sounds to me like they picked avalanche because it doesn't answer it all, but it answers more than most other theories. So they're just going for the guess of like, well, this is probably our best bet.
But here's more damning evidence right here. Since the infamous incident back in 1959, over 100 expeditions have taken place in that very same area with no reports of either avalanches or even conditions that would cause an avalanche.
Uh-oh.
And not only that, there was even a study done in that area which determined that it was 100% unlikely for an avalanche to occur in that region of the mountain.
You know me with science, man. It don't lie.
And this is the one time I'll trust science because it fits my narrative.
Yep. Totally non-biased at all.
And finally, I gave you some hard evidence, but here's a little bit of circumstantial evidence against the avalanche theory. And that is just that, as we've discussed, they were all very experienced hikers, especially the leader, Igor. There's no way that they would have camped there if any of them had noticed any signs of an avalanche or conditions that could have caused an avalanche. There's no way. They would know what to look for at a grade 2.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and like you said, just like what's the word? Just in terms of just the climate or the biome that they were in, there wasn't, the conditions weren't there for it. And especially to one of that high of a intensive a magnitude. So even if there was like a fluke and there was like some sort of avalanche, basically they're saying scientifically and with the way it was set up, there's just no way.
There's no way. But You know what? That Russia doesn't give a fuck. Russia's had the same president for too long, and they don't give a fuck either. Russia just doesn't care.
Mhm.
Okay, they're like, hey, here's your answer. Fuck off. Stop. It's
Yeah.
been like 60 years. Shut the fuck up. Let us move on. You know, and it's fucked up that they're doing that. They should have looked deeper into this.
Yeah. And I think you make a good point of the fact of also this is Russian police we're talking about, but also too, it's not suspected to be foul play at all. So that's sort of like, well, now we're just chasing like fairy tales and like, myths and legends. Like they went, they hiked, they died. And they're like, yeah, we could find an answer, but it's not, nobody's going to be brought to justice. So why bother? And I think that's kind of why they're put the lid on it a little prematurely.
But not only is it the Russian police and government, it's the Soviet, right? A bunch of fucking commies running around with their own fucking agendas, right?
True.
This was smack in the peak of the Cold War, man, and they were just doing what they didn't give a fuck about what was going on with their people, you know.
Oh, they were probably just too excited to go back to their hometown to throw some more folks into the gulag.
Yeah, buddy. Woo!
Yeah, I think they just didn't take it very seriously because they were like, oh, I'd rather go abuse my power somewhere else.
Yes, or it was a cover-up, which we'll get into shortly. Now, the first theory up is something called katabatic wind. So katabatic winds are basically very highly violent, dense winds that resemble the behavior of hurricanes in locations where hurricanes are not common or don't occur. And that's what they call them. So and they can get up to like 10 knots, right? They can get fucking insanely strong.
Right. And knots, that's what we use to measure how fast aircrafts go. So if you're going 10 knots, it's quite fast.
It's quite fast. So the theory goes that a sudden katabatic wind took place and the team left their tent to get down to the slope to the wooded area for a better shelter and perhaps less strong winds. I mean, I don't know. There's not a lot of backing this theory, right? Because I don't know. Nobody's done the research that I could find, at least, saying that this area is known for katabatic winds. I think it was just an idea.
Yeah, I would say my conclusion on this one is, I guess.
It's like the avalanche one. It's like, I guess, right? It's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, all right. Like, I suppose you could say it, but not super thrilled about settling for this.
Exactly. Now, another theory is something known as infrasound. So this theory states that the winds around, just the regular winds, not katabatic, but the regular winds around Dead Mountain at that area created something called the Kármán vortex street, which is a fancy physics thing that has to do with creating sound. I'm not doing a full deep dive on what it is, but basically what happens is this vortex creates a high-pitched singing sound, right? And this sound is actually known to induce panic and dread in humans. It's something that they use in some horror movies.
Is it like those kind of reminds me of those like death whistles where it's like you blow into them and it just sounds like a human scream?
It's more of like an ethereal sound that triggers something in our brains that's like, oh like something's happening, and it kind of makes you paranoid and panicked, you know? It's just like a weird ethereal sound.
Oh yeah, just like you just said in like horror films. I actually heard there's a connection to kind of like how we have with sirens, where it has this slow like, and the reason why that like alarms us is, of course, they do it in sirens because they want us to be alarmed because there's a big old fast fucking truck trying to save a life, but because it mimics a baby crying and like the rhythm of how a baby cries and how that's like this evolutionary like fuck, like it jars us because it means one of our own kind is in danger.
Yeah, so it's something similar but created by nature, and it's just like this perfect condition for these winds to like create this vortex that makes this high-pitched sound. And the theory goes that the sound was created. It caused them to leave their tents trying to get away from the sound, or they were to panic. And, some of them died of hypothermia after getting lost, leaving the tent, as we know, while the other 3 who died of physical trauma, they say for this theory, might have fallen off the ravine above where they were found and died on impact. And like I said before, doesn't make sense because there was no external injuries for them to, if they had fallen off the ravine, there would surely be some kind of external injury, not just internal.
So this one is kind of like a reminiscent of a good old case of cabin fever, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. Panic and dread. That's what they're thinking.
Yeah. Which but experienced climbers. So that also kind of,
Maybe they should. I mean, at this point, they probably have heard those sounds before. I feel like they wouldn't have run out in a panic and like fucking like, you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense.
yeah. Yeah. Or maybe they were just doing a crap ton of drugs, but that also doesn't make sense because they're experienced climbers. They know that their lives are in danger.
Yes. I don't know. I don't like this theory. I like the idea of the theory. I think it's very interesting, but I don't think it's the one.
It'd make for a good like Blair Witch sequel, but that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah. Now, the next two theories are something that I wouldn't put past the USSR. Okay. They have to do with the military. Okay.
Oh, boy.
So the first one is apparently the camp that they set up on Dead Mountain on the slope fell within a range in which Soviets tested their parachute mines. And this is a fact, right? This is not like a theory. This part is actually true. And so for those who don't know, a parachute mine is a mine that, like a bomb basically, or a mine or whatever. It's big. They drop it out of aircraft. It literally parachutes down towards the earth, but it doesn't blow up on impact. It actually explodes a certain height above the earth. And the concussion and the shrapnel is supposed to do the damage of whatever's underneath it. Ooh. It's very interesting.
Brutal.
So anyways, this area was known as a testing site for these parachute mines. And during this time, there is evidence that tests would happen around this region at the time that they were hiking. But anyway, the theory goes that a mine blew up somewhere near them, near their camp. They all panicked, which makes sense, and booked it out of the tent thinking that Americans were bombing them or something. I don't know. And again, some died of hypothermia, and the 3 who died of trauma were killed by the concussion of another mine going off right by them. And this could explain the internal trauma of their deaths and explain the lack of external. But the big issue with this theory is that no shrapnel or evidence of a bomb going off was found near the bodies or in the area. So that just kind of cancels that one out right there.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because that seemed like the most plausible so far.
And if this was the truth, now here's where my theory starts coming in about why the Army got involved with the search in the first place. If this was the true one, perhaps the Army got involved so they could pick up the pieces, basically clear the evidence of the fact that mines had gone off.
Yeah, because if they're going in and covering it up, then then I would say that almost checks out totally.
Right? So honestly, if we're going to believe in the government cover-up, I think that this is the most, because the only thing missing for me is the lack of evidence of a bomb. But if we're going to go with the cover-up situation, then this one makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah. So far, yeah. Like I said, this is the one I subscribe to the most so far.
Now, there is another military theory, and that is that they were testing radioactive weaponry and the team was caught in the test. Now, this theory was established on the basis that one of the hikers, well, especially one of the hikers, had a very high amount of radiation both on them and on their clothing, all 3 of their pieces of clothing. This is one of the more clothed ones that was buried under the snow. And that radiation is strange by itself. But if this radioactive weapon test was the culprit, the thing to keep in mind is that surely all of them should have been affected in the same way by the radiation and not just one or a couple of them.
Maybe he was an experiment on the Russians. Like they purposefully knew this trip was coming on and there was a way to test a living human weapon.
Hey, I mean, I like it. I like that critical thinking, man. It could be. He could be like a Manchurian candidate for radioactive weaponry.
Exactly. But maybe it just, it went out of hand and he just killed everybody, which was what they wanted to do. But maybe the radiation killed them, or maybe, I don't know. It could be a lot of things. But okay, I could see that. And that would explain why there's no evidence of anything else, because one of them was, but there was no external trauma. So that's the hard part.
That's the weird thing. That's the thing that debunks some of these so hard, is that weird aspect where it was just an immense amount of pressure. And sure, people could chalk that up to an avalanche, but honestly, like we said, avalanches don't happen there.
Yeah, so the mystery continues.
Now, this is the theory that I subscribe to as the second most plausible. Well, maybe okay, close to top 3 now that we've discovered that with the government cover up, it could have been the parachute mines.
Right.
But this one holds the most water. for most people. So there is a theory that a fire within the tent caused a panic among the group, and that is why they fled. And there's some evidence to back this up. There was a makeshift stove within the tent used to both cook food and insulate the tent. And it said that perhaps the stove caught fire, or like something caught on fire, or smoked, like, or produced a lot of smoke, and this is where the panic set in. So the fire stove is nothing new, as we have evidence of a fire breaking out from this stove, because a day before the incident occurred, there's a photo taken, which you can find online, of one of the group members wearing a burnt jacket from a stove fire that broke out a day before the incident. So they already burnt themselves once, basically, like a bunch of fucking idiots.
And also too, the fact is they had a stove running inside, so for all we know, it could have been a carbon monoxide poisoning too.
It could have been, honestly. I mean, they did have a little vent, like a little metal chimney.
Yeah,
but it could have been. Maybe the chimney wasn't effective. Who knows?
Yeah, could have just been because it could be like, oh, how could both the vent break and the stove, like it could have happened. Could have been a perfect storm. That explains why it's so hard to explain.
Exactly. So that's good, man. But so the next day after the first fire and their jacket caught on fire, when they used the stove again, something caught fire, and in their panic of trying to control said fire, they cut their way out of the tent. And that might explain why it was cut from the inside, and maybe they couldn't see like the exit to the tent because of the smoke in the tent, so they just slashed away at the inside and to get outside, right? And when they realized that their shelter was no more, they all panicked and ran down the slope trying to get to the wooded area for shelter.
Yeah, okay. So like the previous one, this is when I'm starting to see this one as a little bit more plausible and less grasping at straws. Like, yeah, the stove didn't work the night before, and they're just like, well, whatever. Like, we got a little burn, but we can keep using it because it's this or nothing.
Yeah.
And then, so the stove was faulty to begin with, and the fact they gave it another try, that makes sense that it would fuck up to a catastrophic level.
You would just think they'd be more prepared, man. After one fuck up, you know.
Who knows? But I can see that.
But this would also explain the destroyed tent, the lack of clothing, right? Because maybe they probably didn't have time to get dressed and then leave the tent if it was up in flames.
Right.
And the general direction of where they were all headed, which was down towards the wooded area where they could build shelters out of like branches and shit. So.
Oh, yeah. And the erratic behavior of the fact that they were probably had almost all the oxygen in there, like, pulled out of their lungs because of all the smoke, because the fire's eating it all up. Like, oh yeah, that's an easy way. And also, you probably just woke up at 3 a.m. because all this shit happened out of nowhere in a place that you already know is dangerous.
Right. And it also kind of explains the hypothermia. Makes sense. You run out in the middle of the cold with no clothes, you're gonna get hypothermia, especially if you're lost.
Yeah. And then the paradoxical undressing starts shortly after, later in the evening.
But the only thing it does not explain is the internal physical trauma for the 3 group members. That's still...
It was ghosts.
It was ghosts, man.
Just, yeah, man. I think we got to simplify. I think it was just, big old Russian ghost.
Big old... Dude, the Russians and their spooky folklore. It was the Baba Yaga, dude. Baba Yaga came out of nowhere and just beat the shit out of him.
I mean, man, they were on a cursed mountain. Who's to say?
Another theory, one that we discussed briefly, was that they were attacked by the local Mansi people. But of course, like I said, there's a few issues with this theory. The first issue is that, remember, there was no evidence of someone else being out there with them at the time. And the second issue is that the Mansi people are very peaceful and they keep to themselves, so it would be far out of character for them to attack unprovoked.
Yeah, and if there was like a serial Mansi attack thing that happened, like, it would have happened more. I don't think it would just be a one and done type of deal.
Exactly. Another, it doesn't, that one is like, nah.
Pretty weak.
Another theory, and this is one that I personally like, and this is where we start getting weird, is that a Yeti or Bigfoot type creature attacked them. Now, the Mansi people do speak of creatures much like the Bigfoot or Yeti in that area. That's something to note. Now, as much as I want this to be true, I can't get behind it only because, like we said, guys, there were no tracks other than their own.
Yeah, and we already said it couldn't have been a bear. So if it couldn't have been a bear, it couldn't have been something bigger and more mythological than a bear.
Yes. Now, I'm not, guys, this is just Nick saying, hey, I believe in the Yeti and Bigfoot. I just don't believe in this story, okay? I don't believe that there was the culprit here. And plus, Yeti and Bigfoot, dude, they're on a spiritual level that you guys would never understand. They would never do some dumb shit like this, attacking some people for no reason. Anybody you ever hear in like a Bigfoot documentary, like some dude from like fucking Oregon talking about how he was in his cabin and then Bigfoot came in and started jerking off and beating him up, right? All fake. Bigfoot is, their vibrations are way higher than ours. They would never fucking attack anybody. So just remember that, okay?
Bigfoot is extra human.
Bigfoot is more human than human.
Mm-hmm. One of these, we're saving it for an occasion, of course, but eventually we will do the more realistic take on Bigfoot, because he ain't just a big old ape monster that we all think he is.
Yeah, see, everybody who thinks that Bigfoot is just some dumb coconut-headed asshole who hangs out in the woods and like, scratches trees, and no, it's not. He is an extraterrestrial. We'll get into it eventually, okay? We will have it's a whole thing. It's a whole fucking thing that we will do soon.
Right.
But anyway, like I said, as much as I want this to be true, it's not. Basically because of the fact that there's no prints and because Bigfoot would never do something like this. Yeah. Although Russian Bigfoot might, I don't know.
That's something to consider. Yeah, Soviet Bigfoot who just saw the ways of Marx.
Yeah. Now, finally, and of course, my favorite theory is that it had to do with extraterrestrials and UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
You guys all knew where this was going. There should be no surprises. Okay.
Yep, that's right. It's an abduction episode.
Background first on this theory. It's important to note that that other hikers in that general area of that general region of the Ural Mountains, around the same time, reported seeing strange orange lights in the sky, and perhaps a bright light coming from a UFO near the tent caused them to panic, and they all fucking dipped out of there. Naturally, I would too. To be honest with you guys, as excited as I would be to see a UFO up close observing me, I don't care if I'm in Siberia. I don't care if I'm in the Ural Mountains. I would cut my tent open and run outside naked just to get the fuck away from there. Okay.
Well, yeah, you don't know what they're about to do. I mean, it's not like what was it, that previous episode where they just use you as a sex object and milk you dry, or they just fucking start stabbing you in the eyeball.
Exactly. Unfortunately, as we all know at this point, guys, it's a gamble with extraterrestrials. Are you gonna get abducted and be probed and get your flesh cut and get implants injected into you, or are you going to get which is not, the best scenario, or are you going to get abducted and become a milk machine for some hot alien female, right? Like just keep constantly milking you like a cow, dude. Like that's probably pretty cool, but it's a gamble because you don't know if that's going to happen. So if I was in their shoes in the tent and a UFO popped up, I would have been like, peace, like I'll risk it out there.
Oh, totally. And it's like, it would be different if like, by the time you wake up, you're already in the tractor beam. And in which case it's like, all right, well, I hope I got a good one.
Yeah. I hope this is the 50-50 chance that I was hoping for, because I'm already rock hard.
But yeah, and I think that's a good stance to have with UFOs. At the end of the day, is as cool as it is to understand and confirm that there's life beyond the planet Earth, it is a gamble.
It's a big gamble. You could either have an experience like that dude we talked about was it Brazil, who got aboard and just got like milked and shit and just had a groovy time.
Yeah.
Or you could have an experience like Whitley Strieber, who will eventually do an episode on, who just got butt probed and fucking just all kinds of horrible shit happened to him. So it depends on what race is picking you up.
Yeah. So that's good to know. I think that's a good cautious optimism that we have.
Yeah. Um, now, something I do want to point out about this UFO theory is it would explain the strange amount of radiation on the clothing of some of them, and then on one of them, like their actual bodies was covered in radiation. Because as we know from other abduction scenarios, radiation and abductions and extraterrestrials kind of go hand in hand sometimes. That's just the way it is. So that could explain it. Maybe they abducted one of them. Maybe they got a hold of one of them, and that's why he was so full of radiation. Another thing that it explains is the missing is I guess the trauma in some way of the three, but it would definitely explain the missing body parts of those three, because as we know from our cattle mutilation, there's certain areas that they like to take out, including the eyes and the tongue and shit. So just saying,
that checks
out. And now it's not known that they do it a lot on humans, right? Because most of the time they do it on animals, but it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah, no, it's annoying how, well, I mean, because, to be like frank, UFOs are kind of a catch-all. There's literally like, they could do anything and everything to you. So I could explain the fact of why I had a bad day on Tuesday was the result of UFOs. So there's also that too of like, before you listener get a little like, oh, this sounds like it's checking out. Just saying, that UFO explanation can fit almost any mold.
Why you gotta be so negative, man? Why you gotta be so cynical, dog? I gave you the most credible theory here, and you gotta shit all over it. Okay, explain to me real quick. Why was your last Tuesday so bad because of UFO?
Okay, so last Tuesday, what is it? I couldn't fall asleep until really late, and then I had to wake up for work, and I woke up way too early, and I couldn't go back to bed. And I could say that, maybe there was just some sort of an error in the surveillance equipment that there, because obviously we have a podcast that's tailing them. And I think there could have been an error in the surveillance equipment that started to interrupt my sleep patterns because of electronic sine waves that could be coming through it. It's just where we have electricity in us. So who's to say that their instruments may not interfere with that?
You sound like a crazy person. That's what you sound like. You're being gang stalked.
That's what you do. That's what you sound like. It's not aliens. It can't be. It's too convenient. You can change the narrative. You can change the story to fit whatever.
It's not convenient, man. Other hikers saw strange lights in the sky, and we're getting radiation, and we're getting mutilation of body parts that they just love to take. They just love taking it. I'm surprised their buttholes were still there. Remember, they like to core out buttholes too.
That's true. Well, the only thing I could give you any sort of credence is the whole blunt trauma with no outside, like, okay, an alien could probably do that, I'd imagine.
Yeah, with some kind of weird supersonic pressure machine, dude. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, or like a gravity gun or something.
Yeah.
That's a really cool weapon, actually, where it just gravity, so there's no external, but like you just get all the impact.
Oh, fucking cool, man. Let's build one.
Yeah, that could be fun. Oh, I wish Mythbusters was still on. Are they? No, they don't make shows anymore, right?
I don't know. I never really watched them before.
It's a great show. I actually think you might like some of it, but yeah, I don't know. I'll have to find some engineers to help us.
But that does answer, because I wasn't too sure about how the three who died of those severe bodily traumas died in this theory, the UFO theory, but yeah, I mean, they could have had some kind of supersonic thing, or maybe like a machine during abduction, or maybe those three were the ones that were unfortunately abducted and just got,
Well, maybe they fucked up the abduction. Maybe the first couple, the ones who got all the trauma, it's just their abduction sentence were a little off and fucked them up. And was the one with the radiation, did he have any sort of trauma, or he died of hypothermia, right?
Yeah, it's entirely possible. I couldn't find the name of the person who had radiation on my end. I know the name's out there, but my sources couldn't find it, but it's possible.
Well, it seems convenient that information is withheld, because if that connection is there, that does point to UFO activity. And I'm sure the USSR, like any government, doesn't want that.
They don't want to get out because they want the technology for themselves.
True. So, okay, if we're talking aliens, then it would make sense that they fucked up the abduction, got it right on the last one, and then spit him out when they were done with it. And in the ensuing chaos is what killed the rest of them.
Yeah. because they were like, oh shit, man, my friends are getting shoved up into a fucking aircraft. They're all running around naked, right, in the cold. Of course, they're going to die hypothermia because they're trying to get away from the UFO, and 3 of them were very unfortunate. So had very unfortunate deaths.
Well, yeah, by the time they finally got to safety, guess what? They're already fucking naked and missing shoes and probably already halfway hypothermic. So,
GG. And look, all in all, this was a very strange mystery. And yes, I will continue to call it a mystery because clearly wasn't an avalanche, and I refuse to believe it was, and it stinks of some kind of sketchy Soviet Union cover-up. There are a lot of theories out there. This is not an exhaustive list. There's a lot of details about the situation. I tried to get as many in as I could, but I'm sure I missed some. But I tried getting all the details. It's a whole fucked. It's fucked. All right. And that's one of the reasons why it's so intriguing to me, is because of how mysterious all this is and all the different layers, right? Because, like, yeah, you can explain the hypothermia this way, but how do you explain the trauma? And you can explain the trauma this way, but how do you explain the lack of external injuries? And it just keeps getting deeper, man.
It sounds like this could be the basis of a really fun mystery board game.
The Dyatlov Pass Incident by Hasbro.
I would totally play it. That actually sounds really fun. Did you know there was a Bermuda Triangle board game?
No.
Yeah, it has like a big magnetic like Bermuda Triangle cloud, and like if it like randomly moves depending on like a spin, and like you have to like your little like ships like trying to get like, you know, sugar or whatever the fuck to your ports. But yeah, you could get sucked up by it looks kind of neat.
Dude, that sounds awesome. We should play that on stream sometime for the people.
Yeah, if we can find, I hear it's hard to find, so if we can, that would be a good way to kick it off, I'd imagine.
Hell yeah. Well, guys, that was the Dyatlov Pass Incident, the fateful hiking trip of 9 friends, and the luckiest day ever for one of their friends who went back.
Yeah, that is a pat on the back and probably a lifetime of alcoholism if he hasn't had it already, considering the fact that they're all from Russia, Soviet Russia.
Oh yeah, man. What a terrible but interesting mystery. My top 2, I'm going to say UFO and then the fire and smoke in the tent. Those are my top 2 theories. If we're talking about government cover-ups, then I guess number 3 would be the parachute mine theory.
Yeah, I would say, I think personally I think the faulty fire thing seems to be the most accurate, and just the chaos it caused. Like I said, I know that doesn't fully explain like the blunt trauma and stuff like that, but to me that feels closest to plausible. But I don't know. Like you said, it's kind of funky. Every single theory kind of has its ups and downs.
It's so weird, man. It's like you can't win at all. Like there's something that doesn't explain one of the layers in each theory, and it's just like, my God, dude. That's why I love this. It's so cool. I mean, it's not cool. I mean, rip, right? Rest in peace. But it's like it's an interesting mystery. We'll probably never know what really happened, and even though we all know it was probably aliens. So.
Yeah, we'll call it a long shot, but the 10th one who walked away, there could be, and I mean, maybe I'm grasping at straws here, but is it possible that he may have been one of the many aliases of our boy Count Chocula, who, in a sense, led these people to their death?
Maybe he knew exactly. Maybe he had people set up already to construct some elaborate something at Dead Mountain.
Yeah,
and he is like, hey, you know what, guys? You guys, man, you could do this, but I'm not feeling so good. And they're like, oh, dude, when did you start having chocolate flavored skin and fangs? And he's like, don't worry about it. It's part of my condition, right? So he left.
Yeah.
And boom, the rest is history. He fucked him over pretty bad.
Yeah. Or his like disguise started failing, so he had to dip last minute. And then maybe they saw a little too much or something that could have been suspicious enough to start a case. So, you know, he just had to silence him out, as in the way that his dimension shifting chocolate ass knows how to.
Exactly, man. Fucking scary to think about, isn't it? Maybe he was the correct theory all along.
I'd say it fits a lot more holes than the UFO one sometimes, but Well, I don't know. It's hard to say. When you're dimension hopping, there's a lot of possibilities.
You can get away with a lot of stuff if you can't be caught in in a dimension. You can just go to another dimension, man.
God damn. I was gonna say it must be nice, but not really if you're doing horrible, mean, illegal things.
Yeah, Taster, good choice of words. See, that's why I didn't say anything, because if I said that, then people will be like, "What's Nick up? What does Nick want to do?" Right? What does Erratic Samurai want to do with this ability?
His Erratic Samurai's dimension hopping agenda once he achieves it.
Dude, I can't wait to go on SoundCloud and start doing Crunkcore. Dude, that's going to be my Crunkcore name. I'm going to be fucking Erratic Samurai, dude.
I hate it. Not excited for that, because you went on the other day a tirade about what's that shitty band?
Broken Side?
Broken Side, yeah.
Yeah, they're not shitty.
They're, oh my fucking God. What was that one song? Freaks?
Yeah, Freaks.
With like 20 X's at the end of it and stuff. And it's like, all these girls are trying to touch me. And it's like, dude, fucking garage band auto-tune.
It's
like
party music,
so
dude.
bad.
Look.
It is not
It's scene music, bro. What do you expect?
And the worst part, it's this shitty wannabe party music. And you know me, I love screamo. I love hardcore music. I love metal. I love that shit. But all it was is some LMFAO wannabe talking about how much sex he has. And then occasionally, some dude screaming in the background.
It's fucking awesome. I don't know what the problem is. It's awesome, man. So I like I said on Discord, guys, make America Crunkcore again. Erratic Samurai coming at you 2022. Gonna have an EP out on SoundCloud. I just need to find somebody to make music so I can scream over the vocals, and it's gonna be sick.
Of course, if you want to be involved in this sort of train wreck as it begins, feel free to join our Discord at discord.gg/b6 capital C capital T5MX. Of course, thank you all for listening to this episode. That's probably the best segue to socials I've ever done. If you're listening on iTunes, if you could 5-star rate and review us, that would be super fantastic. Help boost us up, get us known and more popular. Spotify, you could click that follow button. Just a reminder, we have new episodes every single Wednesday on the dot. Instagram is CEOTPK. YouTube is Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind. Our Twitter is at CEOTPK1. All these links and everything else you can find on our Facebook, just Close Encounters of the Podcast Kind, or facebook.com/CEOTPK. If you want to email us, we have CEOTPK1@gmail.com. If you want to donate at all, there's no need to do this, but we have it just in case you want to. ko/fi.com/CEOTPK.
Yeah. Listen, guys, if you make music, hit me up on the Discord. Let's get this Crunkcore thing going. I know Tasker makes music, but he doesn't want any part of this shit, so I need to find somebody else who can make online music. Let's collab, all right? We will be called Erratic Samurai, and it's going to be sick.
That's about as far as it's going to go, huh? We'll see. I'll be very surprised if you can pull this off.
Well, hopefully I can, with the help of some listener out there who knows more about making music than I do. And, thank you for listening. This was a very near and dear episode to me. It's very fun, kind of, and makes you really think. So, whether you think that skiing 190 miles in the Ural Mountains is a good idea or not, the truth is out there.
If you're thinking radiation, UFOs, actually at this point, even the ghost thing seems more probable. It's not.
So 6 days later, that was retarded. I gotta piss real quick, man. I can't even, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab a quick snack, dude. I'm literally like dying.
Okay.